still hooking yourself up? So last night I went to a Bitcoin's meetup in Berlin at the Rainmaking Loft, which was really cool. And one of the speakers was Flavien Charlon, and he's going to do a similar presentation that he did last night on colored coins, Coinprism, which was pretty fascinating. I couldn't believe how many questions he got. I think he spoke for maybe 15 minutes, and you must have got about 35 questions. People just kept asking and asking and asking. So I think this is going to be a really great presentation. Let's give him a big round of applause. Welcome.
Hi there. So my name is Flavien Charlon. I'm the CEO and founder of Coinprism. Coinprism is a wallet which is web-based for colored coins. So I'm going to explain what colored coins is in just a second. Let me just go ahead. Okay. Right. So Coinprism is a company which is based in Ireland, so as I said, it's a wallet for colored coins. So colored coin is a concept that's usually classified in the Bitcoin 2.0 or crypto 2.0 area. Some of you, I don't know if you're all familiar. So how many people heard of colored coins before? Or yeah. So yeah, quite a few actually. So maybe, yeah, I'd say like 2/3 of the room. So I guess in the first part of the talk, I will describe what colored coins is and how they work and yeah, the basic concept behind it. And then in the second part, I will do a demo of like how to create a colored coin and how to work with it in practice, because that's more interesting, I think. So let's first talk about colored coins and see what it is. So the concept was invented in 2012, if I remember correctly, and it was described in a blog post at the time. Since then, there has been a few white papers about it, and then some projects have been working on it. So the idea behind colored coins is essentially to use the blockchain not only as a ledger for Bitcoin, but as a ledger for any type of asset. So it could be gold or stocks or bonds. The way it works is by taking a small fraction of a Bitcoin and adding some information on top of it, which says that this fraction of a Bitcoin represents an ounce of gold, or it represents a Microsoft share, or whatever the asset can be. So this small fraction of a Bitcoin is usually the minimum amount of Bitcoin that can be transacted according to the current rules. So it's about 6 bits. So it's less than a tenth of a cent. So it's a very small amount. It's just we just use that as a transport for the information. And basically that lets you store assets on the blockchain and also transfer it and track it on the blockchain the same way you can transfer Bitcoin. So let's walk through the sort of the workflow of how the colored coins work and kind of how the actors kind of operate. So let's take an example of this. So we have on the left a company called like a fictitious company called the Gold Bullion Corporation, which so they have a vault, they can store gold, and they provide a service, which is that whenever someone deposits gold onto their vaults, they give away a colored coin to represent that deposit. So that's the service they provide. And also the second part of that is whenever you want to redeem that colored coin, they give you back the gold in exchange for the colored coin that you're redeeming. So it's like 2 ways. And then on the right side, we have the three actors, like the proverbial Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And Alice and Charlie have an account with the Gold Bullion Corporation. So they've signed up on the website. They maybe did some identity verification, AML, KYC type of verification. So they're known by the Gold Bullion Corporation, and they can use the service. And so let's see now how it would work. So let's assume that Alice has a bar of gold that she wants to deposit onto the gold bullion corporation. So she just sends it, or the other option is that she just buys a bar of gold directly from the gold bullion corporation. So it's the same thing. When she does that, the gold bullion corporation is going to issue a new coin, a colored coin, which we can call a gold coin, and they give it to Alice. So Alice now has a coin, a gold coin, in her colored coin wallet, which represents that bar of gold. And so this wallet is the same as a Bitcoin wallet, so it's protected by cryptography, and it's stored on the blockchain. Now, Bob doesn't have an account with the Gold Bullion Corporation, but he has a colored coin wallet. And what he wants to do is buy the coin from Alice, and Alice wants to sell it. So they agree on a price, and then they just go ahead with the transaction. So Alice gives the gold coin to Bob, and Bob sends the Bitcoin to Alice for the purchase. And now Bob has a colored coin that represents that bar of gold. And even though he doesn't have an account with the Gold Bullion Corporation, he's able to hedge his risks in terms of Bitcoin volatility by having something that's backed by gold. So if Bitcoin goes up or down, Bob is not affected because he has this coin that's pegged to a bar of gold. So it's a fixed amount in gold. And if maybe he wants exposure to gold, so he can have that as well with that coin. And then eventually Bob wants to cash out of the bar of gold, so he can trade with Charlie. So Charlie buys the gold coin in exchange for some Bitcoin. So now Bob has Bitcoin, and Charlie has the gold coin. So because Charlie has an account with the Gold Bullion Corporation, Charlie can easily cash out by redeeming the gold coin with the Gold Bullion Corporation, and then he gets the bar of gold in exchange for that. So yeah, two choices: maybe he gets the physical gold, or maybe he just gets the same amount in cash. So it's easier to just get cash maybe. So that's basically how the workflow works, and you can see that there's a lot of interesting business models, because the Gold Bullion Corporation can take a transaction fee whenever they exchange gold for whenever they issue a coin or redeem a coin. And Alice and Charlie, because they have access to they have an account with the Gold Bullion Corporation, and Bob doesn't, because maybe Bob lives in a country where he doesn't have access to the service, or maybe he's under 18 years old and cannot sign up, or for many different reasons he might not be able to access it, but still he wants to be able to somehow get exposure to gold using the colored coin. He can do that through Alice and Charlie, and maybe he's going to pay a convenience fee, but he can still access it, and then Alice and Charlie can charge that convenience fee, also make money. So it's a lot of interesting dynamics here. So gold is one interesting use case, and in general, all the commodity type of assets, like silver, oil, and you can extend that model to fiat currencies, so US dollars, euros. That also works the same way. You would deposit US dollars or euros into a company or a bank, and they would give you a coin in exchange. Another category of use cases, which is also quite interesting and very popular at the moment, is crowd sales. So sometimes called IPO or ICO. But basically, if you're a business and you're trying to raise some money, let's say you want to raise $1 million, one thing you can do with colored coin is create 1 million colored coins and sell every colored coin for $1. So then if you sell all your coins, you will raise $1 million, and then everybody who invested in your company now has a colored coin which they can use to represent the investment. And if they want to cash out, they can also resell the colored coin to someone who wants to take part in the investment later on. And then market price can emerge from that colored coin. And there's a lot of interesting things that can be done around that. So one of them is revenue sharing or dividends. So if the company generates revenue, they can distribute that revenue to all the coin holders. So the way it works is pretty simple. So because the blockchain is transparent, you can look at all the addresses that have this colored coin, and you can just make a list and then send a proportional amount of Bitcoin, which the Bitcoin would be the revenue that you generated. You send it, you divide it in like as many as you have coins, and you send it to those addresses. So you don't really have to know the identity of the people, you just need to know their addresses, and you can distribute the revenue that way. And an extension of that is, instead of distributing revenue, you could distribute a new type of assets which you just create and would be something like a vote coin. And you could organize a vote that way. So you distribute one vote per share or per coin. And people now receive a vote and they can send it to predetermined addresses. So let's say you want to vote on 2 propositions, yes or no. People get that vote coin and they can send it to yes if they want to vote for yes or no. And then you just look at the balance at the end of the vote on those 2 addresses. And you just look at which of those 2 addresses has the highest balance to see who won the vote. So that's also one thing that's interesting that can be done with colored coin and the blockchain. A third use case would be loyalty points. So right now, when you buy something with Bitcoin at a merchant, the merchant will know the address where the Bitcoins are coming from. So let's assume tomorrow Starbucks starts accepting colored coins, starts accepting Bitcoin as a payment. What they could do is issue a colored coin whenever you make a purchase and give it to you whenever you make a purchase directly into the wallet where it came from. And then those colored coins can then be used can be redeemed for, let's say, discount on coffee at Starbucks or free coffee. And if you don't drink coffee, you also have the ability to give it away to other people or even resell it on the open market if you want to do that. So loyalty points is an interesting use case. And then the fourth use case, it's a bit more futuristic, I would say, but smart properties. So an example of that is imagine a car. And the car, instead of having a key for the ignition, it would have a system that recognizes colored coin wallets. So when you get into the car, you want to start the engine, you simply scan your colored coin wallet, and it looks for a specific token, specific colored coin on your wallet. And if you have it, the engine would turn on, otherwise it wouldn't. And that's a way then to have a car key essentially stored on the blockchain. And then you can send that to someone else, and now that person can start the car, and you can no longer start the car because you don't have the token anymore. So that's a bit, more long-term kind of application, but that's also very interesting. So what are the benefits of colored coins? So compared to the existing system, obviously, you can send any type of asset across the world. So the blockchain has no boundaries and with minimal transaction fees. So the only transaction fees you pay are the fees that you would have to pay for a normal Bitcoin transaction, which is 0.0001 Bitcoin. So that's about 2 cents at the moment, 2 cents of a dollar. So it's very small amounts of money for making a transaction. And it's also quite fast because the confirmation time is about 10 minutes. So if you compare that to a wire transfer, which takes a few days, and the fees sometimes like $20, $30 if it's international, it's much cheaper to use colored coins. The transparency comes from the fact that it's all based on the blockchain. So the blockchain, everything is open. The ledger is available to anyone. So if I go back to my example of the gold vault, everybody can look at the blockchain and see how many gold coins exist on the blockchain, and they can verify that that company is not doing fractional reserve type of banking. So they can make sure that there is no more gold coins than there is in the vaults, assuming that there are some audits for the gold in the vaults. It's as anonymous as Bitcoin, so it's not 100% anonymous, it's more pseudonymous type of system. So there's a layer which people are identified by addresses instead of their identity, so it's a bit of a proxy, like a sort of anonymity layer on top of identities. So it's not completely anonymous, but it's the same as Bitcoin. And then how does it compare to other projects? So like the benefits of Coin compared to other projects. So some of you might be familiar with those projects, so Ripple, NXT, BitShares, Ethereum, Stellar. So all those projects are based on a separate blockchain, so it's a separate network. And because it's a separate network, they use their own currency. They have their own native currency, which is used for anti-spam and for paying fees. But because it's a different currency, there is some currency risk or volatility risk that's associated to it. So if you're trying to use, let's say, Ripple, you have to buy some XRP tokens, and they would be less liquid than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most liquid cryptocurrency as of today, because that's just where the liquidity is, and that means less volatility for Bitcoin. So if you use any other cryptocurrency, then there would be probably more volatility, so there's more risk to using a different currency. Also, they use a different blockchain, so the mining power on those networks would be smaller, or some use proof of stake also, but essentially there's millions of dollars deployed in the mining for Bitcoin, and this is far ahead from any other cryptocurrency. So this is, I would say, Bitcoin is the most secure platform to build a system like this on. And then different category of projects, Mastercoin and Counterparty, which are based on the blockchain, so they don't have this problem of security, which some other projects might have. They do use a different currency, although they use also Bitcoin. So whenever you make a transaction, you would have to pay a fee in Bitcoin, the same way you do with colored coins. But sometimes for some operation, you might have to use also a secondary currency. So MSC for Mastercoin and XCP for Counterparty. Although in the general case, you don't have to use that secondary currency. It's only for some of the specific use cases, but most of the time you don't have to use it. But a bigger difference with those projects would be the architecture. So whereas Colored Coin has a more modular architecture, those two projects have a monolithic architecture. So Colored Coins is focusing on one very specific use case, which is asset management. So it only lets you basically issue and transfer tokens. And the protocol is very minimal to enable that scenario and to be very flexible towards that scenario, but doesn't try to do anything else. So at the end of the day, the architecture is very simple, and it's a very simple protocol. Whereas Mastercoin and Counterparty try to do a lot of different things like betting, smart contracts, which complicates the protocol in a way. So that's two different philosophies. I suppose Colored Coin is trying to do one thing and do it well, whereas those are trying to have more breadth of features, but end up being more complicated. So the Open Assets protocol is the protocol that Coinprism uses, and this is kind of the standard for Colored Coins at the moment. And as you know, it's built on the Bitcoin blockchain. And on top of that protocol, there's a lot of different businesses that can be built, or different applications. The first important piece of infrastructure for a platform like Open Assets are wallets. So the wallets are the tools that let users interact with Open Assets and store the colored coins, send and receive the colored coins. And Coinprism is a wallet, so this is the first thing that's needed. The second part, which is also very important, are exchanges. So the exchanges are services, websites, which let you exchange a token for another token. So you might be able to buy gold tokens for Bitcoin, or exchange Starbucks coupons for Walmart coupons. So essentially any two assets, any pair of assets can be exchanged. And at the moment, there's one mostly that's doing that, which is Master Exchange. Gateways are just a word to describe those companies who are issuing colored coins. So in my previous example, the Gold Bullion Corporation would be a gateway, or Starbucks could be a gateway if they issue a loyalty point. Obviously, there's a business model in doing that. And then merchants also can have some interest in using colored coins. So if there is a token that's stable in value, let's assume there is a US dollar coin, merchant can accept, like online merchants can accept US dollar coins as a payment instead of accepting Bitcoin. And so the benefits is that they get all the good things about cryptocurrency, which is no chargebacks, low fees, and at the same time they are not exposed to the volatility of Bitcoin. So because they're accepting something that's pegged to the US dollar, there's no volatility risk as there is for accepting Bitcoin. So Coinprism is the wallet is the main wallet. There's a few other ones, but Coinprism is the main wallet for open assets, and it lets you store, receive, and send Bitcoin like any other Bitcoin wallet. But it lets you also store, receive, and send colored coins. Additionally, you can also issue your own colored coin, and we will see that in a minute. It's very easy to create your own colored coin. You can define information about it and then put it on the blockchain. And finally, there is a block explorer which lets you look at every transaction, addresses, blocks, and see the assets being transacted in those transactions, or the balance in, like the asset balance in every address, which normal blockchain explorers don't let you do, but this one is enabled with colored coins. So let's move on to the demo. And just to see, let's see how it works. So this is the home screen of Coinprism. So whenever you sign up, you create an account with a username and password. You end up on this screen, which is the main wallet screen. And this shows you on the left your Bitcoin balance. So I already funded this account with a few Bitcoins, so 2.3 millibits. And then on the right, it shows you your address. So you have one address for receiving assets. And then if you want to receive Bitcoins, you have another address, which is like a normal address, which you can send Bitcoin to. And that's going to fund your Bitcoin balance. So as a use case here, let's assume that I want to raise some money. So I want to start a sandwich shop. That's just an example. And I don't have the funds to do that, so I need to raise $200,000. And to do that, I want to, let people invest in my sandwich shop. So I'm going to create 200,000 coins and sell them each for $1, and then just do that to raise some money. So if I want to do that with colored coin, it's quite simple. So first of all, you would create a new asset. So I just go here and then new color, and then I can just type the name of the asset. So sandwich factory share. And then I got to type my password, and the password here is used for encrypting the private key that's being generated. So the private key controls the issuance of the asset. So once the address is created, I can put some information about my assets. So let's say this is a short name which will show up on all the wallets. So let's put that, and then the issuer name is the name of the company issuing the colored coin. So in that case, that's a fictitious company called Sandwich Factory. And then I can put some images to represent my assets on people's wallets. So I'm going to use that icon here. Just so that's a simple logo. And then I can put some description here. I can set the divisibility of the asset. So if I want the asset to be divisible to a number of places, I can select that, but in that case, it's just going to be indivisible. And then what type of asset it is. So let's call it a crypto token. So I can simply save. And now the asset definition has been created, but the asset does not exist yet on the blockchain. So I need to issue the colored coins on the blockchain as the next step for that. So in order to do that, I just go here and then select the sandwich factory shares. And then it tells me that I need to fund my account. So I need to fund the address because the issuance address has to pay for two things. First thing is the dust, which is what is the small amount of Bitcoin that's being colored. So as I said, it's like 6 bits, so it's 0.01 cent of a dollar. And then the second thing you need to pay for is just a normal Bitcoin transaction fee, so that miners accept to include it in the block. So that's about 2 cents of a dollar. So I just need to fund the address with that amount. So that's let's say, 1 milli Bitcoin should be enough for that. So that's about 20 cents. and press send, and now I should get to a screen where I can review the transaction. So this screen shows me where I'm taking the funds from and where it's going to. And after, if the transaction looks correct, I can type my password. The password here is used to decrypt the private key, which is encrypted because the server never touches the private keys. So it needs to be decrypted on the client side. So this is why you need to type the password. So the funding transaction has been broadcast to the network. And the third step is to go ahead and just issue the colored coins and put them on the blockchain. So if I select the Sandwich Factory Share account, I can just here type the amount of assets I want to issue. So I want to issue 200,000 coins because I want to raise $200,000. And I want to sell each one for $1. And then this is the fees I'm paying to the miners. And then I press issue to simply start issuing. And this shows me another recap of the transaction. And as you can see, it's telling me that it's issuing 200,000 Sandwich Factory shares. If I click here, I get some information about it. And again, I need to type my password to sign the transaction before it's sent to the network. So now you can see my balance has updated. So I not only have this amount of Bitcoin, I also have some Sandwich shares, 200,000, which are still mine. I haven't sold them yet. And if I click here, I can see the profile information for my assets. So it shows me the picture and then the description. I didn't put any description, but if there was one, it would show up here. And then it tells me the asset is not on the blockchain yet because the transaction is not confirmed yet. So it's going to take a few minutes to be confirmed, but I can start sending the coins even though they're not confirmed. So now if I want to sell the coins, I want to sell the coins to my investors. So I have a few different options. The first option is to simply go here and use quicksend. So quicksend, I can do that if basically I get in touch with my investors. They send me an email. They say, I want to invest in your company. I want to give you that many dollars or that many Bitcoins. And then they give me their colored coin address, and then I can send them back. I just put the address here and send them back the coins that they bought. So I do that for every investor. So that's one by one. It's a bit, I mean, if you have a few investors, that's fine, like 5 or 6. If you have more than 10, it's going to be a bit tedious. So we have a second way to do that, which is the crowd sale feature. So the crowd sale feature will basically, you would publish an address, a Bitcoin address on your website. People will send Bitcoins into that address. And then that system will look at the address and look at all the incoming Bitcoin transactions. It will calculate how many sandwich coins they should be buying. So if you send 1 Bitcoin, that's going to be maybe 200 coins. So it's going to calculate that and send back the coins back to the same address where the Bitcoins came from. So it does it automatically, so it's much more streamlined. So recently there was a mining community, Get Hashing, which used that to raise $100,000 for mining hardware. So it's and they had over 100 buyers. So it's definitely more scalable. And then the third way to do that, it's even easier, I would say, which is to use Master Exchange, which is an exchange where you can list any colored coin asset. So if you want to list an asset, you just go to markets, create your own market, and then select colored coin, and then type the smart property ID, which is the ID that you would see here. And then that's going to create an order book, and then you can simply go and sell 200,000 shares for $1 each, and then people are going to be able to go onto the site and sign up and place buy orders to buy the coins if they want to. So that's the third option. So now let's assume I have sold my 200,000 shares, and the business is running, and you know, I'm making some money, and that's great. And I want to organize a vote. So let's say I want to have people vote on what new sandwich I'm going to put on the menu, let's say, and I want to let my investors decide. So I can do that through the blockchain, and so this is how it would work. So first I would need to create a new asset which would represent the vote, and I've already created that asset. So this is the sandwich vote here. So if I go to edit color definition, you will see I've already put some information. I put a logo and so on. So this is my asset. Then what I need to do next is to create 200,000 of those votes and distribute one to each to each shareholder, basically. So I would just let's issue the shares first. Issue the votes. So I go to issue colored coins, select the sandwich vote, and then I want to issue 200,000 sandwich votes. Press issue, and then this is showing me this again. I can sign the transaction, and I should now have 200,000 sandwich votes. So I have those votes, and now I need to distribute them to all the people who invested in the company or in my venture. So because I haven't distributed those coins, so I just have another asset which I created beforehand just for speeding up the demo. So this is a different sandwich factory share. It has the same logo, but it's a different one, and it's being distributed to 5 different addresses. So this address has 37% of the ownership with 74,000 sandwich shares, and so on. So the total is still 200,000, but it's spread across 5 different addresses. And so I want to distribute the votes to those 5 addresses. So I'm going to pick up the asset ID and go back here and then send coins and then send dividends. So the votes are sent as dividends. So I'm going to send them from the sandwich vote address. Select this. So I have 200,000 of them. The asset ID is the one I copied, and then I want to send the full amount. And then I just send it. So it's showing me now a recap of the distribution of the votes. And if I click here, it's going to download a file, a summary file, which I can open in Excel. And this is simply showing me all the different people who will receive the votes. So you can see that this address is going to receive 36,000 votes. This address is going to receive 74,000 votes, and so on. So I have a recap here, which I can save if I want to. And I just type my password to confirm, and then the votes are going to be distributed to all those addresses. So this is confirming, and now if so the transaction has been sent to the network. If I click here, I will see a recap of the transaction, and you can see here that the sandwich votes, 200,000 of them have been sent, and then they have been sent into those 5 different addresses. So now they each have a number of votes, and if they go to their wallet, they will be able to see that page, which shows a description of the asset, and then it gives the instructions. So if you want to vote for sandwich 1, you need to send your coin, your vote coin to this address. If you want to vote for sandwich 2, then send the votes to this address, and so on. And at the end of the vote, we just look at those 3 addresses, and we see which one has the biggest amount of vote coins. What's also interesting is that if someone doesn't want to vote, and there might be a market for it, so you might be able to resell your votes to someone else without having to sell the shares. So if someone really wants to vote for a specific sandwich, then you can sell them the vote, and they will be able to vote for some amount of money. So yeah, so that's basically an overview of how it works in practice. And just to wrap up, the Open Assets Protocol is the protocol that we use. Open Assets Protocol is the protocol that we use for colored coins, and the specification is available on GitHub. So there's a shortcut here, openassets.org. It's a 7-page specification, so it's quite easy to implement. We actually have a few open source projects that re-implemented it already. So if you want to check it out, there's a website. And then if you want to sign up on Coinprism to try it out, create your coin, you can do that, coinprism.com. We also have an Android app, so this is a wallet. You can simply receive colored coins and send colored coins. So if you want to try it, come talk to me. I will send you some test colored coins. And you can follow us on Twitter as well, @Coinprism. Thank you.
All right, awesome prezzo. So we have a coffee break coming up, but let's do a couple questions before we go to the coffee break. And we got one over here. Yep. So tell us who you are. I know who you are, but tell everyone else.
Hi. You mentioned loyalty programs. I'm Aaron Koenig from Berlin. You mentioned loyalty programs as a use case. And $2 might be a very low transaction fee for transatlantic money transfer, but it's a very high fee for a point for Starbucks coffee. So how would you solve that problem? I mean, work with off-chain transactions in addition? Or?
Yeah, I think so. If there's a huge volume of transactions, some of it might have to be off-chain. And so there's multiple ways to do off-chain transactions. I suppose one way would be to have it centralized by the company doing the loyalty program. But there's another way to do it, which is micropayment channels, which is a trustless way of doing off-chain transactions. And so basically, you open a channel with someone, and then you can update the balance very quickly without going to the blockchain. So you update the balance between the two wallets, and every time you do that, you don't have to pay for any fees, and confirmation is kind of instant. And so this is another way to scale Bitcoin transactions and to avoid the fees. I mean, some companies are working on it. BitPay is working on that. So they work on that for the purpose of Bitcoin, but it would apply directly to Cornet coins, so it would work immediately for Cornet coins. So this is one way to do off-chain transactions in a trustless way and to avoid paying the fees.
Hi, I'm Andreas Schildbach. I'm the author of the original Bitcoin wallet for Android. My question is, if I got it right, then in your presentation, one Cornet coin was worth approximately the dust amount. Mm-hmm. How do you guarantee that the colored coin stays spendable? Because we have floating fees now, and of course the fees can also go up, and then the dust amount would go up.
Oh, so you're talking about the dust amount, the 600 satoshis?
Yes.
Yeah, so the floating fees only affect the fees that you pay for like mining, for having your transaction mined, but it doesn't change the dust amount. So the dust amount actually is 534 or 43 satoshis. And this is sort of hard-coded at the moment. It doesn't change.
I think it can change with the floating fees. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it can change. Because if the fee, it's always tied to the fee, and the fee can go up.
Yeah. So so right now you're right that the fees and this dust amount are kind of linked together. But I'm not sure with the floating fees if that's the case. So maybe this is the case. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Callum McDonald, and I wanted to ask about when you're issuing the dividends, do you have the maximum transaction size? Can that be a problem if you have a lot of shareholders, and how does that, can you issue just multiple transactions, or is there some different way to handle it?
Yeah, so I mean, the maximum transaction size is pretty massive. I think it's like 100K or something, so you can have a lot of recipients, like probably thousands, without a problem. But if you need even more, you can split it into multiple transactions, and Coinprism actually does it for you. So if you need really large transactions, then it's going to be split into 2 or 3 transactions. Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else? Yep.
Hi. Just one question on after you've issued your shares or your coins, and they can become tradable on master exchange. If they're then owned by hundreds or thousands of users, at the point which you want to, at the point which you issue votes, is that all handled in your application?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you?
Well, let's say in your example that you issue those coins, and they're then traded, and
Yes.
they're bought by lots and lots and lots of users.
Yeah.
Is there a way which you can handle and know who owns each of those coins after they've been traded?
Yeah. So like the page I showed earlier actually shows you that. So if I go to, well, if I go here, actually, coin holders. Yeah, so if you go to this page, this is like the block explorer part of the website, and it shows you all the addresses that own a specific asset. So here it's showing me like oh, sorry, it's not showing. Yeah, so it's showing you like the 5 different addresses that own the specific asset. And if there were more, you would see them. So yeah, you can see exactly the addresses that own a specific asset.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm afraid we're going to have to end it there because we, actually, Micah, we'll let you ask the last question, then we'll go to the coffee break. So, Micah?
Micah from Gem again. So does the protocol support multi-sig or any other type of encumbrances?
Yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't take any assumption on the type of script. So it can be any you can use it with any script. It can be pay to pubkey hash or multi-sig, pay to script hash. It doesn't matter. The protocol doesn't have any assumption on that. So it's definitely working with multi-sig.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Well, let's give him a big round of applause. Nice job. All right, it's time for our coffee break. Take a short 10-minute coffee break and come back with our next speaker and play a little bit of music.